welcome back to our channel. I'm ASMR to the G2. If you are not already subscribed to our channel and you like my videos, I would love it if you joined our little family here on YouTube. I also have another channel where I make videos in Greek. I will link that channel down below. Today's video will be an up-close whispered reading, a continuation of the book we had started a couple of videos ago. And at the same time, I will be snacking on some gummy candies, some cinnamon hot lips, my favorite. Let's begin. I didn't have to open my eyes to know I was in a carriage traveling at a fast clip along a rough road. The cabin rocked and bumped violently, tossing me about on the seat upon which I half lay. My feet were on the floor, but my body was covered by a blanket. Both the blanket and my clothes smelled of damp wool, possibly the worst smell in the entire world. No, not entirely true. Whatever had been soaked into that rag and caused me to black out at the cottage was now the worst smell ever. Still, damp wool was unpleasant, and along with the rocking cabin made my stomach churn. "Here, use this," a voice said. I cracked open my eyes to see a young woman of about my own age sitting across from me. It was dim in the cabin, but I could see she was quite pretty in a quiet way that didn't strike you immediately. She had a wide mouth and bright eyes that sparkled even in the dimness. I guessed them to be blue to go with her hair color, but it was impossible to tell if they were dark like mine or paler. She was beautifully dressed too, in a pale pink gown trimmed with black lace and a tall black hat perched loftily on her blonde head. She emptied the contents of her reticule in her lap and passed it across the gap between us. "I'm fine," I rasped, my throat dry. The carriage lurched again, and my stomach dipped and rose. I took the reticule just in time to throw up in it. Good Lord, were all carriage rides so turbulent? When I finished, I closed the reticule and hesitantly held it out for her. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Reticule. She screwed up her nose and shrank into her seat. "Please don't take offense," she said, "but I don't suppose you'd mind holding it until we reached our destination. It won't be long now." I slowly sat up and lifted the green velvet curtain, edged with gold lace. The landscape whipped past at a rate that had my stomach rolling again. I had not thought anything could move so swiftly. I let the curtain fall back into place, but not before I'd seen that it was still raining, albeit with less ferocity. "Do you feel better?" the woman asked. "Not particularly." Her face fell. "Oh, it's just as well you still have my reticule then. Most fortuitous." She must have heard the sarcasm in my voice, because a small crease appeared between her eyebrows. "Give me 1 second. Okay, great. Where was I? I know this is very trying for you, Lady Violet, but I want to assure you that you have nothing to fear. We don't intend to harm you." Did I just imagine the slight shifting of her gaze so that she wasn't quite looking me in the eyes. "Then you won't mind answering my questions," I said, sounding bolder than I felt. "I don't mind, but unfortunately I'm forbidden to do so." "Forbidden? By whom?" She gave me a tight smile. "All will be explained when we arrive, Lady Violet." Hearing Vi's name only deepened my sense of dread. What would they do when they discovered I wasn't Vi? What did they want her for in the first place? Ransom? Money? Yes, that must be it. "Don't worry," she said, as I shrank into the corner. "It's nothing sinister, and our reasons are noble. Indeed, we wish to help you." She squeezed her lips as if trying to hold back more words. I got the feeling she wasn't supposed to have said that much. I swallowed. The lingering taste of bile burned my throat. Bile and fear. My heart hammered in my chest, and I desperately wanted to go back to see Vi again in Windermere. I'd even settled for seeing Miss Levine in my small bed. Just something or someone familiar. I wished I could take back every moment in which I'd craved to be far away from the attic. I suddenly felt terribly ungrateful for everything I'd been given. I wondered how long it had taken Vi to notice I was gone. What had she done when she realized I wasn't coming back? Had she run to the house and alerted her father? Would he have listened to her and sent out a search party, or ordered her to run upstairs into the attic? It was possible that Lord Wade cared nothing about my disappearance. I was, after all, nothing more than his daughter's friend. The only person in the world who cared whether I lived or died was Vi, a prisoner in her own home and quite powerless to search for me. One thing I did know for certain: she would be utterly miserable without me, just as I felt utterly miserable alone without her, despite the presence of the mystery woman across from me. "I'm Miss Sylvia Langley," she said, as if she could read my mind. "Pleased to make your acquaintance." Politeness dictated that I give my name in response, even if it were already known, but I was in no mood to be polite, nor did I want to lie and introduce myself as Lady Violet Jameson, daughter of Lord Wade. But I certainly did not want to give her my real name and divulge that she had the wrong person. Whereas I could endure a kidnapping and more, Vi's nerves would snap altogether and ruin her fragile mind. "You seem quite certain I won't attack you and try to escape," I said instead. "Why would you want to escape?" She seemed genuinely puzzled. "You'll be offered a great deal more freedom than you were given at Windermere Manor." "A great deal more freedom doesn't have quite the same meaning as you're free to come and go as you please." Miss Langley's jaw went rigid. "I know your father has kept you in the attic. I would consider anything other than a genuine prison cell more freedom, wouldn't you?" So she knew that much. Interesting. It was no secret that Lord Wade's eldest daughter lived in the attic of Windermere, with their governess and companion. But most thought she was there of her own volition. Even our tutors had been under the impression. Miss Levine had told us it was generally thought Vi was simple-minded and wanted to be left alone. Her stuttered greetings to the butler certainly did nothing to dispel the rumors. What everyone thought of me being kept in the attic with her, I couldn't guess. Perhaps, being the orphan of servants, they thought my situation was a fortunate one. Sometimes I believed that too. "I'm sorry if you think Lord Wade will pay your ransom," I said. "You're going to be shocked when you discover he doesn't care enough to capitulate to your demands." She shifted one brow. "You don't think he would pay a ransom for your release? Do you think a gentleman who keeps his child in the attic would want her back?" Whether he did or not wasn't the point. The point was Miss Langley and her friends had not kidnapped his daughter. They'd kidnapped Hannah Smith, a nobody. Vi might not consider me replaceable, but I wouldn't begin to know what Lord Wade thought. I see what you mean. Well then, it's fortunate that we don't want his money, or we'd be in a pickle. No ransom. How curious. Then what do you want with me? I'm sorry, but I cannot answer any more questions. The carriage slowed. She put the curtain back. Ah, here we are. Home at last. I lifted my side of the curtain just as the carriage passed through an iron gate. Tall, thick oaks lined the drive, their overhanging branches shielding what little light filtered through the gray clouds. I caught a glimpse of a lake, where bare weeping willow branches cried into the still flat surface. Beyond that, what looked to be a ruined building rose out of the ground like jagged teeth. It was too far away for me to see what sort of structure it had once been, or if indeed it was genuine ruin, or a folly like the one in Weirdamir's park. We rounded a gentle bend and the trees thinned out until all that was left was a neat lawn and some low shrubs clipped into the shape of inverted drips. Gravel crunched under tires, and the driver urged the horses to slow with a few commanding words. Was he the one who'd captured me, or had my kidnapper remained at Windermere after delivering me to the carriage? I ceased wondering as the house rolled past the window. No, not house, mansion, or more particularly, a castle. Where Windermere Manor was all formal regularity, this house was not. There were gabled roofs in abundance, their peaks topped with decorative pinnacles like insect antennae. The gables were broken up by castellated turrets and towers, and I couldn't even begin to count the chimney stacks there were so many. The dark grey stone was also in contrast to Windermere's golden hues, and with the heavy clouds hanging low overhead, it looked rather medieval and altogether forbidding. A shiver trickled down my spine. What is this place? Freak house, Miss Langley said. Pardon. The carriage door opened, and because I was leaning on it, I tumbled out without an ounce of grace. I managed to hang on to the reticule as strong hands caught me by the upper arm, saving me from a muddy puddle. It had stopped raining, but the ground was drenched. Just gonna take a break to eat my candy. Thank you. I looked up straight into the green eyes of the new Windermere gardener, Hugh. He let go, but not before I noticed how warm his hands were, even through my sleeves. My apologies, he said. I feel terrible about what happened, but it was necessary, or so I was told. This last he muttered under his breath, but it didn't disguise his voice, so deep and rumbling. I remembered how it had vibrated through me when he grabbed me outside the woodman's cottage. It must have been he who'd captured me and held that god-awful cloth to my nose. Are you all right? He asked. No lasting effects from the ether. None at all. I held out the reticule full of vomit. Would you mind carrying my luggage? A small frown seized his brow as he took the reticule and glanced at Miss Langley behind me. She giggled. I do believe I like you already, Lady Violet. She hooked her arm through mine, and I found it comforting despite my apprehension. Comfort or not, I released myself and took a step away from her and the gardener. They were my captors. No matter how polite or kind, I must always remember that they'd kidnap me using unconscionable methods. say will sound hollow, although he answered, Miss Langley, I felt as if you spoke directly to me. You could introduce yourself, I said. That would be a good place to start. And this is where we will stop for today. I hope that you enjoyed the video and that I was able